Hi, welcome to my craft room. Let's take the window sheet and tissue paper panel that we created, and we don't want to forget the overlay that we did as well with the doilies, and we're going to carry through with that theme. I'm using the Floral District Designer Series paper, and I'm using the paper doily Sizzlet, and I want you to see just how beautifully that cut really is pretty. Next, I am using the delicate doilies with the black cardstock, and you want to make sure you use a shim. And I used a shim with that first doily as well. I had those both on tab 1, and oh, I left a little scraps behind. And so what you want to do is punch out any of these that didn't come out, but I found that just using my fingers, most of them come out. This is the labels collection, and I'm using number 3, and once again you want to use a shim. And with this one, it's on tab 2. We're changing tabs here. To adhere that down, I really like the removable tape. A roll of this will last you for over a year. Mine is I've had forever. Connect all 4 sides down. You're going to run that through, and then I'm going to run that through a second time. I wasn't quite sure with the window sheet just how well that would cut with these Sizzlets, but it worked just fine. But I also went slowly as I turned that handle. That does help to put more pressure on there. But it came right out. I was super happy about that. Isn't that pretty? Very translucent looking. And now this was an experiment. I took just a scrap, and I love this beautiful wings embosslet. And I thought, I'm going to see if this will work. Now, I turned it through there, and then as soon as it finished going through, then I brought it back again, and then I turned it through one more time. And if it hadn't worked out, girls, you wouldn't be seeing it in this video, but it did work out, and I'm so happy because I really love these little butterflies, and just look how pretty. I played with these doilies a little bit before I started filming, but I'm basically creating this card as I go along. I am going to cut this in half, and this is the medium-sized doily, and I'm using crystal effects throughout this with the connecting of these different pieces. I like the way it keeps that very translucent. So I'm putting half at the top and half at the bottom. And now the smallest I'm folding in half, and then I'm going to pleat it a couple of times, and then I'll release it and pleat it a couple of more times. I'm trying to break down the fiber in this black cardstock because it's a little bit harder to work with. But you can see that it is bending and shaping, and I'm real happy with the way this is turning out. So I'll set this aside, and next I want to tone down the colors. This is the Summer Smooch Designer Series paper, and I'm using River Rock just to kind of tone that green down just a little bit. And did you know that just because there's not a color in a piece of Designer Series paper, did you know that you can add that color? I'm using a little dauber here and just bringing in a little bit of that Concord Crush to pick up on what I had going with the re-inker in my window sheet. And I'm doing the same here to my doily. I'm just bringing in a little bit of that. The rose red ink looked beautiful on this Floral District Designer Series paper. And this piece is cut 2 by 5 inches. Now I wanted to add just a little depth of color, so I'm going around just the edge of this doily, and I'm going to do the same thing to my panel that I will be adhering onto my card. And this is a 5-inch square. I'll adhere this on and cut off that excess. And this fancy fan folder, the design in this Floral District Designer Series paper, they match beautifully. Now you've noticed I didn't do the bottom, but I like the variation of having some embossed and some not. I've added a black panel to this to just kind of accent this. I thought it made it pop a little bit more. And next I am going to start making my flower. I'm punching out one of the circles from my floral district designer series paper, and then I have folded 4 pieces of the tissue paper together, and we're going to make some little flowers out of this. If you have the Smooch Spritz at home and you're not using them, I want to encourage you to get those out and start using them, because wow, they are so beautiful. This red is from our Christmas mini catalog, and I know a bunch of y'all have it, so let's use it. Look how pretty that looks. I've used all 3 of them, the vanilla, the red, and the gold glow. I recommend that you let these pieces dry a little bit before you work them like I am, because I tore some of them just because I was impatient. Look how the flower in this punch matches the flower in this designer series paper. I was really, really happy with that. At this point, I didn't have a clue how I was going to use it. I just was kind of following a theme of design. So I really liked the way that looked, and I thought, well, I'll find a place for these. After bending them up a little bit, I'm adding the crystal effects to the center, and of course, what is a card without dazzling diamonds? So we have to add that. This is the Lucky Limeade Baker's Twine, and I've added that to the bitsy buttons, and here again the shape was perfect with what I was working with. Cut up to the center, count 3 over, and then just cut that little portion out. I'm adding the multi-purpose glue to 2 of the scallops, and I will overlap that and hold that till it dries. And you can begin to bend the top of that down ever so slightly. And now you want to snip off the base of that, and then again you want to add the glue and connect those 2 scallops together. This is just a portion of a flower that I make. I was trying to do something a little bit different, and so we'll see how it turns out. With using this tissue paper, I just put my finger in the center, then I pushed it around my finger and then twisted it on the back, and look what a sweet little flower. Wouldn't this make just a little nice accent for different cards that you're making? This is one that I did tear, and so I put that center into that tissue paper and worked it around, and now I've put my glue and I'm going to put it into the cone of this flower. Set that aside and let it dry. Girls, this video was really long. I had a lot of different things I was showing in great detail, so I had to cut. So I cut off the part that shows that I did cut a small and a medium extra doilies. This is one of them. This is the medium. I decided to frame my window sheet with these doilies. I just love the look of this. I thought it was so, so pretty. Now I'm going to cut off that overlay, and I'm cutting it at 5 inches because that's the size of my pink Floral District designer paper. And to adhere that on, our mini glues are nice and small. I really, really like them. And so right in the center of that doily is a dark spot, and that's the perfect place to camouflage those glue dots. And fortunately, I had one in the middle and one on each side, so that worked out great. And even though my designer paper has been embossed, it stayed without any difficulty whatsoever. Doesn't that look pretty? I've already adhered my 2 doilies down to my card, and I'm carrying through with the crystal effects. I like the way this keeps it really translucent. Now we're going to add this on. Bring that down a little bit and let this dry before you do the next step. Sorry about all the glare. This is the extra doily that I cut out, so I'm going to adhere that on. And I'm sorry, but I'm out of frame here. You can't really see it, but I cut off the back part of that flower. It was peaked, and I cut that down so that it would lay flat. And now I'm going to just overlap it into that second doily that I cut. Bring that down just a little bit. I don't want to cover up the top of that larger doily. I think it's just way too pretty. Now what I've done here is I've laid everything out, but now I'm going to go through and adhere it on. I wanted to make sure that I like the positioning. With the little buttons, I took the Lucky Limeade and I just tied a knot in one, but with the second one I tied a knot, then I cut a little portion and overlapped it twice and then tied it into that knot, and it looks like a bow. And here are those little flowers that I didn't know what I was going to do with. I'm gluing them into the center of my tissue paper. And with the tissue paper, because it's so delicate, I don't recommend that you put that onto the glue dot and then try to pull it off. Use your paper piercing tool to remove those. And I went underneath that doily with that. And I was not happy with the way that center turned out on that flower, so I'm going to camouflage it. I'm going to cover it up. Don't tell anybody, it's our secret. And look at these cute little butterflies. Glue dot will hold that on just fine. Whoops, I shouldn't have touched that. I'm just going to put a little bit of multi-purpose glue on there to connect that. Add my center. You know, girls, this card may seem like it's a little bit more than what you want to do, but I hope you realize that I've showed lots of different ideas in making this one card, and you can break these ideas down and use them in some of your card making. The most important thing to me is that I have stirred up your creative juices. I want you to just see some of the cool things that you can do with simple little things that you have sitting around. I love these butterflies. I think they turned out so beautiful. And even the little tiny one, look how sweet that is. And a glue dot will hold that on just fine. I will have all of the details for making this card on my blog, and that'll be under this video, so be sure and check that out. There's just one thing missing. Let's see, what do we need? Well, rhinestones, of course, so let's add some rhinestones to the center of our flower. Thank you so much. I hope that you will try some of these different techniques, and until next time,